Good to see you, John. Of course, the big news to discuss straight away, no tennis through July 13th. Wimbledon has been canceled for the first time in 75 years. They held the emergency meeting. What do you make of what they decided?
You know, it's funny. I think a lot of us saw this coming, and Wimbledon was very upfront. I mean, they sent the players an email a few days ago saying, we're going to make an announcement. Just so you know, we're not interested in a closed-door scenario. So everyone was expecting this, and yet somehow seeing that email going out, somehow that still registered a level of surprise and shock. And we keep hearing, I mean, I was just looking at images. I mean, the last time Wimbledon was canceled, the Germans had essentially dropped a bomb on center court. So that should give you some sense of this was a decision not taken lightly. But we now have two consecutive majors that have been postponed. Let's hope, Jan Michael, I don't know about you. I hope we have that streak snapped, because two majors out in a row is too many.
I mean, you talk about, there was some controversy a little bit about Roland Garros kind of making that decision so quickly and kind of moving, and there was some scheduling issues, and Wimbledon then deciding now to do this. It makes a lot of sense. Obviously, that nobody's going to really be ready by then. Who knows what's going to happen? Hopefully, we can get a hold of this coronavirus thing that we're all facing worldwide. It is. I got those same emails. Wimbledon being my best slam, I get the little Final Eight Club emails sent out, which I've grasped onto them. I'm happy to get those, and I got that this morning, and I was like, I hope this is an April Fool's. It is April 1st, and that's the first thing I thought. But obviously it's not. It's a lot more serious than that. And we'll be missing tennis there. It's my favorite event. It's extremely unfortunate, but I think we're going to see more of this. Hopefully, it can get contained, or we can figure something out before then. But it's tough to see all this kind of just fall apart.
John, Roland Garros was suspended. Wimbledon is completely canceled. You tweeted the fact that it's not insignificant that Wimbledon foreclosed the possibility of rescheduling later this year. How come?
Yeah, it's really striking to me how differently these two majors you mentioned handled it. And Wimbledon's, the second sentence of their release is, we'll see you in 2021. So they wrote off the possibility that they may be looking for another calendar date, or this was a postponement. They essentially said flatly, it ain't happening in 2020. We'll see you guys in a year. I'll tell you one other major that I think really impacted Wimbledon is the very next press release the All England Club set out was to the British National Health Centre saying, we will be happy to help lend supplies. We will be happy to make this space available. This is what, of course, the USTA and the US Open has done with the National Tennis Center. So Wimbledon made a decision today, but you get the feeling that the two majors that are bracket the tournament, the French Open and the US Open, they both sort of had their impact in two very different ways on today's announcement.
Yeah, I think that was a fantastic decision for them to do that. The USTA did that, obviously, this week and made it available, and it's great for the All England Club to have made that same decision. Space is, if they need the space, and who knows how long this is going to go on. If we can contain it by our social distancing, hopefully we can do that. But it's great to have these big spaces that are so useful now for people in medical emergencies.
And back during World War II, the All England Club actually played a useful role in that war effort. So we'll see what they do with the pandemic that we have right now with the coronavirus. John, all day long here, we're reliving our signature series about Martina Navratilova. You've known her for a long time, colleague here at Tennis Channel as well. What stands out most to you about her illustrious career?
She was so wildly ahead of the times in so many different ways. And you go back and read some of the clips from the early 80s, the mid 80s, and the remarks about her physique and how she was getting muscled. Well, now we're at a point where young female athletes have a hashtag #MyFirstVein. There was a time when Martina was teased because she had this freak show that was traveling with her, that we talked about Nancy Lieberman in the previous section, and she had coaches and nutritionists. Well, that freak show is now the entourage that every player seems to have. Martina used to use something called computer data to look at some of the playing propensities of her opponents, of Chris Evert. Did she hit her second serve to one place? And that was mocked as voodoo. that would turn into analytics and the type of data analysis that now the top players all rely on. So I think we think of Martina as a trailblazer in so many ways, as a tennis player and an activist, but I think in ways that just she approached the job and she was open to other voices and she was testing boundaries, even with something as silly as technology. She never got her credit at the time. Everybody sort of rolled their eyes, but in retrospect, man, Martina was right an awful lot of the time.
Yeah, I agree with you. She really sort of figured things out on the fly. It's like, how do I first of all get out of this situation with my home country and get myself to one where I feel comfortable? How do I now overcome this character, amazing champion Chrissy Evert? And it seems like she at all her turns she was being thwarted, but kind of slowly figured out a way to get better and better. And you're right, she's totally ahead of her time with forming a team, doing the extra off-the-court work that now all the players on the tour, male and female, are doing, especially right now. Good time to try to get ahead with the fitness. But everybody's trying, to be better, and she really slowly figured it out, and now you see it's the norm that we're seeing on the ATP Tour, at least with the top 50 players.
That's how you go a 3-year stretch and only lose 5 matches. John, stay with us. We will have you later on in the show as we welcome Andy Roddick to the program. Much more still to come